PKM is a new term to describe an old problem. How do we make sense of the world? Maybe you're trying to get through history class or write your dissertation for a PhD. Maybe you've gone down the internet rabbit hole into some fascinating topic, but you don't want to forget everything by next week. Maybe you're putting together a grocery list or a list of to-dos for the day. Maybe you're working your way in a new career, trying to track who's who and how that's relevant to your aspirations. Maybe you just love ideas and you get inspired and blown away by how the plow, yes, the plow, changed humanity. Shout out to James Burke. Maybe you want to track your dreams, your heart rate, or your workouts over time. Maybe you want to remember the memories you had with cherished friends and family, some of whom aren't around anymore, except in memory. Maybe you want to figure out how to go about living a good life, something the ancient Greeks might call eudaimonia. If you do anything like this, then you're managing knowledge. That's PKM, that's personal knowledge management. According to Wikipedia, knowledge management is the process of creating, sharing, using, and managing knowledge and information. Or again, as I like to stress, personal knowledge management is really about the process of making sense of the world. Sense making. How do we make sense of this world? Now that's a thread that once you start pulling, it unravels all sorts of juicy questions. Questions like, what should I do in this world? How should I conduct myself? Where should I spend my limited amount of attention? What really matters? If we decide these existential questions are fundamental to a life worth living, then we better have a way of dealing with all the stuff. You know, the intangible ether of ideas, the stuff that surrounds all of our waking, living, breathing moments. PKM can help us do just that. So how do we deal with the stuff of ideas? Well, what did we do a few thousand years ago? Our ancient ancestors tried to manage knowledge so they could remember the most important stuff. In Buddhism, our ancestors codified knowledge into something called the Eightfold Path, not the 80-fold path. Our Stoic ancestors had their 4 virtues, not 40. And at some point in time, basically all formal religions have taken a crack at phrasing the Golden Rule. These things are easy to remember. Let's call them reminders, and they act as a helpful guide for us to at least strive to live a good life, whatever that means to us. Whoa, that's it. What does this stuff mean to us? What does it mean to you? How do you make sense of the world? And even if you think you have it all figured out today, how can you make sure you won't forget what you've learned? Because while life is too short for our memories, it's too long. Believe me, I say to myself, the you of today isn't the same you of 10 years ago. And it follows that the you of 10 years from today will have changed in equally big ways. Way bigger than we usually comprehend on a day-to-day basis. In that way, we give ourselves way too much credit for what we'll remember. And there's the rub. I can't tell you how many times I've had some amazing breakthrough on how to live a good life. But I quickly forgot it because I just kept consuming and collecting other ideas until I drowned out the very idea that meant so much to me. That's bad PKM. The reverse of that is good PKM. Instead of collecting more idea noise, stop for a bit and focus on the signal when you find it, and then do something with it. With today's digital linking tools, you can easily connect that nugget of wisdom to an existing note in your note library. Boom! You've spent more time with it, you've externalized it, and you've connected it to other ideas. Now, you've got a way of making sense of the world that can reliably grow with you over the years. So 10 years from today, future you can return to these notes and connect them to new experiences that you've had. Or maybe future you is having a midlife crisis, and having these notes can reground you and remind you of what brings you meaning. Now that's some powerful personal knowledge management. Now, since there are so many ways to manage knowledge, it would be helpful to have a framework we can all point to. To that end, I'm excited to share with you the PKM Planet. The PKM Planet allows us to see where and think about how we are spending our time in the world of knowledge management. By the way, if you're digging this content, make sure to join the Light Notes newsletter. The link is in the description below. This newsletter focuses on how to think better and with more joy, and how to be a better note maker and not just a note taker. All right, welcome to the PKM Planet. Let's check this thing out. What is happening here on this graph? What you need to know is that there are 6 main areas, lands, realms, where we spend time managing knowledge. So let's travel around the planet a bit and get a sense of what's what. Let's start with PMM. This is memory management, the collecting and using and developing of our memory, how we remember things. Next up, we have PIM. This is idea management. This is the sense making, the connecting, and the developing of ideas. Then we have PWM, writing management. This is writing, packaging stuff together, and sharing content. Then we have PPM. This is productivity management, the understanding, the developing, and the advancing of projects and goals. Keeping going around the world, we have PSM, skill management, the improving and developing of skills and abilities, the creation of habits. Finally, we have PRM, relationship management, the understanding, developing, and maintaining of relationships. Anything we do in the wide world of personal knowledge management can go on this planet, and we will explore this in depth in the series of upcoming videos. Now, in practice, these areas often overlap. As you connect ideas, you're writing about them. As you're writing about things, oftentimes it's to achieve a goal or advance a project. That's why the PKM Planet is a blended color wheel filled with all the shades under the sun. The beauty of the PKM Planet is it forces the question, where am I spending time in my management of knowledge, and how? Because the thing is, we only have a limited amount of time on this planet. So if we can bring more wisdom and intention to our knowledge management efforts, we can waste less time, we can get better results, and we can experience more joy in the process. All we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. Using the PKM Planet, we can finally map out our use cases in a common way. We can more easily explain to people where we are spending our time in this really hard to describe world called PKM. And it turns out there are some common PKM archetypes. Knowing these archetypes better can help you better know thyself. The next 7 videos in this What is PKM series will explore these archetypes. How much time are you spending as a top-down thinker? How about as a bottom-up thinker? How can we map these archetypes on the PKM Planet? How does time spent with knowledge differ from the note takers versus the note makers? What about the note takers who get caught in the trap of continually summarizing the same information and never get to the point where they're actually making sense of it? How does their quality of experience differ from the note makers? How can we recognize the content regurgitators from the sense makers? We can actually map their different weather patterns on the PKM Planet. Are you a writer, a journaler, a fiction writer, a world builder? How do those workflows map on the PKM Planet? Are you a personal development nerd, a project manager? Your time spent on the PKM Planet can show a unified view of where you spend your time thinking. Are you a student? What kind? A churn and burn student or a know and grow student? We'll explore the different goals and the ocean currents on a student's PKM Planet. And maybe you also want to keep track of a few personal and professional relationships. What do those weather patterns look like on the PKM Planet? Before we're done, we will have detailed over 14 PKM archetypes. Knowing these archetypes will help you avoid some of the most common pitfalls in knowledge management while spending more time confidently saving, developing, and maturing your ideas sustainably over time. If PKM could utter a single line, it would be this: through me, you make sense of the world. That's fundamentally important because through your sense of the world, all your actions are influenced. That means through better sense making, you become empowered to create better, to learn faster, to work at a higher and more sustainable level, and yet stay grounded and focused as the world attempts to tear your attention apart. Through better sense making, by digitally linking your thinking, you can develop your ideas over decades. You can make more valuable leaps of insights, and all the while, you can't help but train yourself into the habit of better thinking. By better thinking, I mean the ability to think critically, creatively, and connectively, all at the same time. This type of sustainable sense-making will fill your thoughts with more joy, meaning, and personally unique perspectives. Armed with all of that, you can't help but be able to contribute more value in more ways to your family, your friends, your community, and society as a whole. And it's all from developing a personal environment to encourage, nurture, develop, and reliably save your best thinking. That's the promise and the premise of personal knowledge management. That's PKM. This is the start of the ongoing What is PKM series. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to get all the future juicy installments. Next up, we'll look at the forever battle of PKM Planet Archetypes, top down versus bottom up. See you there.